Welcome to Fabric Monday. Today I'll be talking about Translytical Task Flow. What's Translytical Task Flow? Translytical Task Flow is not one new feature. It's a combination of many features and methods to achieve one result. So, the name itself, Translytical Task Flow, it's not representing one feature. It's representing one scenario, one combination of many features that we can make to achieve the result. And what scenario is this? It's a beautiful and a modern name for write back feature. The write back feature is a long-awaited feature in Power BI. We always would like the possibility to write something back to the source or store some information in some specific place. This is very important for analytical solution. It was possible to do this before using Power Apps and flows in Power Apps, but now we can do this using our Fabric resources. By the way, the word translytical is a combination of transactional and analytical. In an analytical environment, you only read the information. The information that you are dealing with is read-only. But in a transactional environment, you save information, you write information. So translytical, the capability to write information in an analytical environment. Let's talk about the features that bring us to the Translytical Task Flow. First, we need a storage to store the information that we'll be saving, and the Fabric database is great for that. Of course, we can store this information in a warehouse, in a lakehouse, if we would like so, but the Fabric database is the best one for that, because it's made to be used as a production area. Then, we have the user data functions. The user data functions were recently announced, recently made available, and they allow us to create functions inside the Fabric environment. And these functions can be called to save data somewhere, and this somewhere includes a Fabric database. And finally, we have in Power BI Desktop the capability for a button to call a user data function. So we can call a user data function from a button in the Power BI report. This combination of features create what is called the Translytical Task Flow, a flow of write back to the analytical environment. Let's talk about the possibilities of the write back feature. We can use the write back feature to update KPI targets, for example. Our facts will not change, but maybe we would like to analyze the facts against different sets of targets, different sets of KPI, and we can use the write back feature to define that and to change the values of these KPIs. Build forecast scenarios. Again, the facts of our analytical environment don't change, but if I would like to see future predictions, maybe I would like to see these future predictions based on some variables that I would like to input. So we can build forecast scenarios using the write back possibilities. And the one I like the most, save context information. When we see a bar chart, for example, in a visual, what context we have to understand the ups and downs of the bar chart? If it's a sales chart, for example, how do we know why the sales increased or why the sales decreased? It's important that we give context for the information, and the write back feature allows us to save a context to the information that we are in our charts, and in this way, we store this context to gather the analytical information. Let's see an example of an architecture, and I will show this architecture implemented. We start in a lakehouse. We have our analytical data in the lakehouse. This analytical data is provided to a semantic model, and the semantic model provides this data to a Power BI report. Then in the Power BI report, we have a button capable to call a user data function, pass parameters to this user data function. This user data function is capable to save information inside a Fabric database. And then in the lakehouse, we can have a shortcut to the Fabric database. In this way, the semantic model contains not only the information in the lakehouse, but also the information in the Fabric database, which will be updated from the Power BI report. And in this way, we have a write-back scenario. Let's see a demonstration about how this can work. Here we have a Power BI workspace, and I have here in my Power BI workspace all that I need. I have the SQL database, which is used to save the information. I have the Sales Lakehouse, which is used to save the analytical information. And the Sales Lakehouse has a shortcut to the sales database. And more interesting, we know from a previous video in Fabric Monday that a SQL database has two areas, the production area and the mirror area used for analytics. And the shortcut from the Lakehouse to the SQL database is to the mirror area used for analytics. That's very interesting and important. And we have here the report, a semantic model and a report. Besides this report, we also have the new object, a user data function. This user data function is responsible to receive the data and save the data inside the SQL database. My example is using the example of a context. I'm saving context information in relation to my report. In this way, the name of my function is add comment. I'm adding comments to my report to save context. And here is the code of the function, which is capable to save the data to my SQL database. In the Power BI desktop, we have a button, and in this button, we can make the configuration for this button to call that user data function. We can take a look here. In actions is activated and the button is calling a data function. I point to the workspace, a function set. Inside the function set, I can have multiple user data functions. And then I specify the parameters which I will be passing to the function, the date and a comment which the user will be writing. Let's see an example. Let's execute an example of this, and I will execute it online, opening the Translytical report in the portal. Here is my visual. Like I said, I have a bar chart with ups and downs, and I don't have a context to understand what's happening. Let's pass my mouse here and see that for some of the days I already saved the context. This was a rainy day. That's why this was so low in sales. This is an average value. This one, I'm not sure what's the context of this one, so maybe I would like to save a context for this one. Let's add a comment. I'll click in here. Then I see the text box and the button, and I will select a date and write a context for this date. So the context I write: the manager decided to make a special sales offer and it worked. So I'm giving a context about why the sales increases so much in that specific day. Then the button is available. Once I have the date selected and the text field, the button is available. I click add and it's processing. It's saving the context inside the Fabric database. That's it. Let's make a refresh in our report. And there it is. The context I included is returned to the report, and when anyone checks this bar to see what happened, my explanation is there. So we are capable to save context to the information in our report. That's very good, and this is one of the possibilities of the Translytical Task Flow. So let's analyze what we saw. We saw one of the possibilities of what we can do with a translytical task flow. A translytical task flow which use multiple technologies to achieve this result, and each one of the individual technologies have different possibilities as well. For example, the user data functions can be used in many different scenarios. This video is only an introduction. We will continue talking about this subject, especially about the user data functions, which we'll be talking on the following weeks. Thank you very much for watching and see you next week.